The back-to-school clothing and supplies rush heats up. The high price of it all is another hard pill for parents and caregivers to swallow, especially in the context of serious economic challenges and household budget constraints. The cost of uniforms has been at the centre of a great deal of discussion in the country for years now, with bitter complaints over a variety of issues, including exclusivity agreements with suppliers. The Department of Education and the Competition Commission have issued compliance guidelines, but has this had or will they have any impact? We'll talk about this in a universe of other issues relating to school and school uniform. Paul Esterhuizen is School Day CEO and Juane van der Merwe is the Federation of Governing Bodies of South Africa's Schools Head of Legal. To the pair of you, good evening and thank you so much for your time. Juane, we start with you. What are some of the complaints you have heard about uniform provision and pricing?
Well, I think first of all, let's just say this is something we go through every year. When we look at our back-to-school season, we receive these complaints at the beginning of each and every year. Now, the greatest complaints usually received by the Competition Commission and that we are aware of is the high school uniform prices. And there's mainly two things that leads to these high school uniform prices, as you have already referred to, is the fact that schools sometimes conclude exclusive agreements with suppliers, which then basically, forms a monopoly, and there's no competition in and for the market. That's the one thing. And then secondly is the fact that schools and a lot of schools requires parents to wear a unique branded school uniform, which necessitates the appointment of a single or a supplier who should make these school uniforms. So that's basically the two factors that usually leads to the high prices that parents complain about, especially at the beginning of the school year.
Paul, your view on the uniform price debacle and these exclusive agreements with suppliers?
Yeah, thanks, and great to be on the show this evening. And cutting straight to the chase, there are probably any number of as many as 12 million children, learners who are coming onto the school platforms. It's a brand new year. That must impact at least 7 million homes and extended communities. And my view on these school uniform issues, the long-standing ones, as Juane alludes to, that it's always the issue. And we have to find a way to understand that my old school tie and my school uniform and my school identity and my school social status is all intrinsically linked to the school uniform. And I do get it that there are areas where price setting and price prescription around the agreements that are in place do impact parents, and parents are battling. We've got an economy that's struggling, battling to pay school fees, number one, but secondly, battling to pay for all the peripherals that are inclusive: school uniform, stationery lists that are longer than what anyone can budget for. And it's a tough gig for parents right now. There is a solution in play. Get involved. Parents, get involved. It's a school governing body election year. Every 3 years this comes around. And the school governing body we trust, that is the elective of the parents, and they want to get the right people in there to have the policies and procedures in place. And yes, at the heart of a school, get the budgeting right so that the school uniform is an established costing. It carries the brand, the logo, the colors of who our school is, because that's what's going to live with me when I'm one day asked, where did you go to school? And that ties into where we're at. Yeah, they're going to be people go to the Competition Commission and complain. I'm saying go straight to your school, get involved with the governing body, and let's look at how we can address it. It's a multifaceted challenge.
Yeah. I mean, Paul, to your point, just about, on any of the issues relating to us as a country that are challenges, it is important for the populace and, the community to get involved. Juane, Paul's talking about school pride and the colors and logo, and I quickly want to insert this into the conversation and deal with it very briefly. I mean, do we perhaps have to give up some of the things that do fall, under this nostalgia for us as school children in favor of something that maybe can be, more efficient, cost-effective? What's the sweet marriage between those two of, sticking with traditional uniforms the way that we've come to know them, but also having, deep consideration for the fact that it's expensive when we do that?
Well, from the starting point, I think it's important to just say and highlight the fact that a school uniform should never impede or limit a child's right to education. A school uniform definitely has a role to play. I mean, we see school uniform as an equalizer between rich and poor. We do tend to see children wear civvies to school, and we cannot allow children to just wear civvies to school. That's when we tend to see a lot of bully behavior in school, picking on children who are a bit less fortunate than other. But I think to get to the sweet spot, as school governing bodies need to realize that they have an obligation towards the parents, towards the community which they serve. So I think it's time to really consider whether those unique school uniform items that you do require your parents to purchase, whether they are really and truly necessary. What measures can you put in place to alleviate the high prices? Can you rather offer the school emblem or to make that available to parents to rather purchase that separately and sew it onto a school shirt? And then very importantly, it's governing bodies needs to go through a proper bidding process, look at multiple suppliers. So there's definitely still a role for school uniforms, but the sweet spot is just to get that balance right.
Paul, do you see parents, and guardians getting involved? I mean, are they voicing, their objectives or their objections or ideas to the school? Especially if you have, a governing body, there's certainly a great deal of authority that those SGBs have, don't they?
Yeah, my call and our world in school days is the school days of a child's life. And we urge parents to actually understand the commitment of education, which is, it starts at home when we have the child, and we know that there's a school path. There are the stepping stones that have to be planned for and provided for. And parents need to plan. And education has to be paramount in the home. And there are enough community support areas that can be put in place. And one of the areas we believe that schools should be more proactive is around setting up a good school second-hand uniform shop. And yes, we don't like it when we hear that the school is profiteering by the uniform from that supply, and that's the price, because that is really anti-competitive. We're asking that parents participate, that they plan to pay not only for the school fees, but also for those uniforms, because the education in the child's mind is linked to these elements of social status with their peers. And in the classroom, the child who does not have the stationery feels somewhat left behind and isolated when looking around and seeing kids with it.
Yeah.
And that's where we do believe communities can get involved, without a doubt. And every parent, every grandparent listening and watching this show this evening should be thinking, who should I be reaching out to if I could perhaps assist? Could I even support the school, the struggling school in my community, to go and enable whatever I could as a wherewithal to contribute? Because it's one of the smaller issues, but it's one of the biggest issues that comes to the fore.
I mean,
the challenge for parents is they plan.
Yeah, sorry to interject, just mindful of time, but I also just want to add this. And listening to you, these are really great interventions, a second-hand shop, more of the community getting together to see who they can support, but also the planning aspect. But it's also happening in a context where a lot of families, are at an extreme point in managing their budgets, and not a lot of families might have the luxury of being able to have that planning. So just cognizant of that as well, Paul. But thank you for those ideas. And I guess we also have to think about how we can innovate around the concept of uniforms themselves. But I want to go back to what Juane, we talked about at the beginning. This is a perennial issue. I mean, this is an issue that comes up all the time. Every time we say go back to school, the uniform and pricing issue is one of the central topics of conversation. The Competition Commission has advocated specific guidelines to create things like healthy competition, give parents options from different suppliers, and for the exclusivity arrangements to have a limited time frames. I'm not sure how well you think that has worked, and what needs to change to incorporate all of that, but to really ensure that we are no longer having this type of discussion at the beginning of a school year.
Well, first of all, very importantly, I think we're only going to truly start seeing the change if parents truly get involved in their schools. I mean, our competition commission, and I have to compliment them on the work that they have done throughout the years. They're doing a terrific job. But I mean, the competition commission can only look at so many complaints each and every year. It's important for parents to realize that they do have the power to affect change, to voice their concerns towards the school governing body, even though the school governing body determines that the school uniform, they have to consult with parents. And secondly, parents, or the school governing body have to present the school's budget to the parents, which then needs to be approved by majority votes of the parents. So before a school governing body can appoint a school uniform supplier, they need to know that they have the budget to do so. So I think it's truly time, and we're only truly going to see the change if our parents truly get actively involved at the school, voice their concerns, speak about the challenges that they are facing, because then they can, through their own school governing body, truly then affect the change.
Well, thank you to both of you for talking to us tonight. We appreciate your time. Paul Esterhuizen is the CEO of School Days, and Juane van der Merwe is with the Federation of Governing Bodies of South African Schools. She is the head of legal.